We're going to start out with just a brief comment from our general manager, Dan Padover, as well as Coach Laimbeer. So, Dan, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Jiggy. And apologize if my screen gets a little frozen here, but I think you'll be able to hear me. No, look, very exciting day for us. I think in many ways, this was our hope leading into 22 before obviously a crazy year, but we were really excited to get Liz in 19. We had a blast with her and she had a blast with us. And that's just showing today as we get ready for 21. And I think Liz and Bill said it best. Everybody, including Liz, is just focused on making this our year and going for the win. So with that, I'll pass it over to Bill.
Yeah, what am I supposed to say? Liz, this was a given. Liz was coming back here. When we got her, it was a good fit. And, we told her certain things were going to happen and we asked certain things of her and it all happened. It was a great year for her and for us, I believe. And unfortunately, last year it didn't work out. So here we are again, and we're more experienced. We have a very fine, talented team. It was clear in the finals that we had to have Liz to compete against Seattle at that point in time. Even if we had Hamby, I thought we were still shorthanded, and also with Plum. But having Liz back, a dominant force, and she's committed. And that's the best part about Liz Cambage. When she's committed, this is going to come and play and play well, and that's what we're excited about. And at the end of the day, I'm so old right now. All I want to do is win, and I think we're all on that page. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this, and I'm looking forward to having Liz have a dominant year again.
All right, let's go ahead and open it up to questions. If you would, raise your virtual hand or let me know in the chat that you'd like to ask a question. We're going to start things off with Pepper Pursley.
I have a question for Liz. This is Pepper Pursley with the Next. So I was just wondering, are there aspects of your game you've been able to improve during your time away from the league? And have you had a chance to talk with Chelsea Gray about who should be the starting point guard for the team?
So Pepper, you did not need to introduce yourself because you're low-key. Don't tell anyone else, but you're still my favorite. You're my favorite person on this call. I still remember our first interview, and she said my name straight off the bat. So Pepper's my girl for life. It's so lovely to have you interviewing me again. About Chelsea Gray, I've been in Chelsea's ear for a couple of years. I think it was since that All-Star in Minnesota. She was on my team, yeah? And that's where I was like, I need to play with her. Like her skill, her vision, her sense of the game. I can't wait to be catching those dimes from her. And when I get double teamed, I don't know how they're going to play defense on us. We're too strong inside and outside at the moment. So I'm so excited to get on court and start playing with these girls. But last year, it was a bit of a blessing. I really got to take a step back and focus on me and my game. And I've been working with Chris Johnson out in LA. And he's taken my game to a whole nother level. I'm training against NBA guys, retired, getting back in the league. I play runs with J.R. Smith every Friday morning, and it's so much fun, playing with those guys. It's a blessing that I get to learn and from them more of the game. So I'm lucky that last year, COVID was such a weird year, but it took me to a place where I love basketball and I have such a different understanding for a game and a love for the game from working with Chris. And, if COVID never happened, I probably would have never have spent a month on court with him. So COVID was a blessing and it's taken my game to a whole nother level. And I'm excited to apply that with the Aces this year.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Peppa.
Mark Anderson.
Hi, Liz. Mark Anderson with the Las Vegas Journal. I think everyone's going to look at your roster and see that this is probably the team to beat. Is that a challenge you welcome?
Are we the team to beat or the team to try and work out how to beat? I can't think of what other teams are thinking about us. I just got to think about what we're doing. I don't think about other teams like that. So that's not, you got to ask them. That's not a question for me.
What about you then? Do you feel, when you look at your roster, what do you see?
I look at my roster and I see Bill and Dan putting together a bunch of killers, and I see a bunch of ladies I can't wait to get to work with.
Doug?
Hey, Liz, Doug Feinberg, DAP. Great to see you, my friend. I have a question for you and then a question for Bill. My question for you is, you said you worked on aspects of your game. Your game was pretty damn good to begin with. What did you specifically work on besides probably point guard skills for the upcoming season?
We warm up. Hey, Bill, is that Bill laughing a little bit?
I'm laughing. He said, "Point your point guard skills."
Down there. I'm the point guard. We start with ball handles. We shoot. We do dunks. We do everything. My game was good. It can always get better. I can always learn more. I can always work harder. So we just working on everything, sharpening every tool I have, on my belt. So yeah, we've been working on everything out there.
And Coach, it's great to see you as always. My question for you is, you have obviously a lot of talent on the squad. And I'm not going to say, is this the best squad you've coached, because you haven't won anything yet. You won stuff at other places. But looking on paper, this team, I would think, is pretty good for you guys to make a nice run this year in the league.
Yeah, a lot of teams got better. If you look at, the haves got better, the have-nots, we're treading in place. But I think that, we can put multiple combinations out there across the board this year that we couldn't do last year. Last year I had to mix and match units. But I think this year it's going to be hard to guard us. With Asia and Liz, you're going to have to double team them, or if you double team them, then we got other people on the perimeter, shooters on the perimeter. We're going to run, we can rebound. We'll be a better rebounding team than we were last year. So statistically speaking, we're set up to be a very fine basketball team. Now you actually have to play the games. And I think that the most important thing is the experience factor that we didn't have before when we first came to Las Vegas is there now. And I think Liz won a championship in Australia. Our players were in the finals this year in a growing experience. So I think we're set up to be very competitive. Now, like I said, you actually have to play the games to see who wins. And injuries will be a big part of things, and foul trouble, et cetera, et cetera. But I think for this particular year, we're very deep across the board. And obviously with the salary cap, it will diminish our team in the future. But right now, we're a pretty solid basketball team.
Thanks, Coach.
Brian?
Hi, Brian Salmon, Channel 3. Liz Cambage, welcome back. We're very happy to have you back. I'm very happy to see you again. My question is how tough was it watching your girls play and make it to the finals and not being able to be with your sisters and kind of battle it out with them, even though you played down in Australia? But I would assume it was probably tough to watch them play because you would want to be there with them.
It was tough, and it wasn't tough because I was so happy to see the girls go so far and do so well in Asia, have such a real dominant breakout, mark her territory, this is her league now. She's it. She's American basketball right now. So I was so proud of her. I was so proud of the girls for pushing through, for the league, for throwing it together and getting it done and holding it down in such a crazy year. Yes, I wanted to be there. I knew I couldn't be there, physically or mentally. I knew it wasn't for me. So, it was tough not being there with the girls, but I was so proud watching them do their thing.
Anne Marie?
Hi, Liz. Nice to see you again. So great to hear that you love basketball, as you said again, after spending this time working individually. I'm wondering, in terms of the way that you transitioned into it, the way that you organized your work coming back to the United States after spending part of that summer in Australia, how'd you organize everything and get the team that you've got working with you to improve your game away from the Aces?
I'm very lucky. I have the greatest agent in the world, Alison Gayler. I'm in her spare bedroom. She took me in. She saved me from the police enforced lockdown last year in Australia, where my mental health went from okay to rock bottom. Living alone, not being able to spend time with my family last year, and being isolated was really tough for me. So I'm lucky Alison was able to get me to LA and back on court and training and working out in the gym. And I'm just living that same routine I am now. Monday, Wednesday, Fridays on court, every other day, lifting weights. And then I kick it on Alison's couch every afternoon watching the NBA. So I've got a really good routine. And I'm really blessed that I have such great people looking after me and caring for me, and you know, making sure that I'm applying myself to be the best at what I do.
And then Bill, for you, in the bubble coaching, it was different than anything you had ever done before. I'm wondering, in terms of a leadership challenge, what you found to be the most challenging of 2020 under those circumstances.
Well, 2020 in the bubble sucked.
Yeah.
I think, but what it did was it allowed the players to intensely focus on their craft. That because there was nothing else to do, it was just goddamn boring. And all you did was go to the gym and you played games, and you went to the gym, you played games, and you ate, and that was it. I think that it showed, especially a person like Asia, about this is business. And you can focus on business in the bubble because that's all it was. It was going to work every day. There were no distractions. There were no other stuff. So she understood at that time that her role and responsibility was to carry that basketball team as far as she could. And others, you know, showed themselves also. But, you know, at the end of the day, we were shorthanded in that environment, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Other teams were also, so make no mistake, but Washington was severely shorthanded also. So I think that going forward, it was a good learning experience for our players to understand what has to happen to win basketball games. And now we added more talent, and Liz and Plum comes back, and yeah. So the experience factor, I think, was the biggest thing for us.
How long did you go without a haircut? That's my last question, but I want a real answer, please.
Last year, a haircut? Probably.
How long without a haircut? That tragic thing that we saw.
Probably 3 months.
That was 3 months worth of hair? Okay.
Yeah, my hair, not my beard. My beard was about 2 months.
Okay, it was a lot. Thank you.
It was a lot.
Extra.
I enjoyed that, actually. I made my statement. Too bad, League.
Jesse?
Hey, Liz, Jesse, NBC Vegas. Great to see you. I'm just curious, you know, you mentioned you're training with some of the NBA guys and stuff in the offseason and all that. What's kind of your discussion been like with them about, you know, what to expect? Just a weird year in general, too, as we all kind of, as a world, get back to normal, hopefully soon here.
We're just focusing on our job. I guess the main thing we've taken out of the past literally the past year, is that we're lucky we're athletes, and for some reason athletes have a ticket to do their job right now all around the world. So I'm blessed that in a crazy year I've been able to come back out here and stay focused and do my job, and I think we're all taking that as a blessing right now.
And also too, I mean, you know, we all figured you'd be back, but as a whole, like, you know, Vegas, the Aces, the city, everything like that, what was it that got you so fired up about coming back with the team?
It's home. This is the first organization I've been a part of where I feel really looked after, and I feel like a human, and I feel cared for, and it's family. And that's the most important thing for me, is I got to work with these people. I got to see them every other day, and they got to deal with me as well. So I need to be in a place where I feel loved and supported, and Vegas is it for me.
That was a great answer, Liz.
And Bill, for you, you know, I know we talked before about your 3-year plan. Is this kind of back on track now? Is this the 3-year plan, year 3 for you now, kind of reset after the bubble?
Well, I firmly believe in year 3 last year, if we had our full contingent, we were going to win the championship. Now we are in year 4, and we lost a player in Caleb McBride, and other teams added players. They lost some players too. So we added Liz back, and we're going to get Plum back. So, Yeah, last year I believe we're going to win. This year I think we have a very good chance, one of the top favorites to win the championship. But others got better. So we have to go play the games, and the players have to do their part and understand. And if whoever wants it the most is going to win. And hopefully that our team we haven't won. We have a new ownership factor, and I think if we want it the most, we're going to win. If we don't want it the most, we're not going to win. I think that's the bottom line.
Gotcha. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Chris?
Thank you very much. Chris Matthews, KLAS TV here in Las Vegas. Liz, it's been a while since we had a chance to talk to you. Can I just ask you a little bit about what you've heard about the new owner, Mark Davis, and he's building that facility out there by the Raiders facility, specifically for the Aces with offices and all that. I just kind of wondering on your thoughts on that, Liz.
I'm actually on my way to lunch after this to meet the great man that I've heard so many great things about. And all I've heard is that he loves sport and he wants to take us to a whole nother level. So I'm very excited to meet him and sit down and hear about all the ideas and visions he has for women's basketball here in Vegas.
And then they're building that facility out there. I'm sure you've heard about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've trust me, Bill was showing me plans about his dream for our facility out here a couple of years ago, and now Mark's on it, so I'm very excited about that. But we already have like the greatest place to train out here. I'm excited to get back to the UFC Performance Center. Like I can't wait to get back in there and just see those amazing bodies at work training. But yeah, we've got a good setup out here until we get our own facility like that.
I'd like to also ask Bill, if I can, just Bill, your thoughts on that. I haven't had a chance to talk to you about what Mark Davis is doing for the franchise, building that new facility out there specifically for the Aces with offices and gyms and training and weight rooms and all that.
Well, what he's doing is wonderful for women's basketball and women's professional basketball. He's spending money, but that's not the biggest asset that he has. The biggest asset he has is he cares. And he really wants the women's franchise and the women's sports to be very successful. You know, he was always told me stories about him and his dad, Al. They would drive from Oakland over to Sacramento to watch the Sacramento Monarchs play. So he's a longtime women's basketball and professional basketball supporter. And the greatest part about him is he's just a really genuine good guy. He's a regular dude. Okay, he's got a bunch of money. Okay, but his transparency shows forth. And I told him the players can see through anybody. And when they look at him and they listen to him, they see the genuineness and they're going to love him. It's going to be the greatest marriage that this franchise has ever had.
I'd also like to ask Dan, if I could, just Dan, kind of what's your latest conversations with Mark, and what is he kind of, I guess, related to you of his vision for the franchise and what he can do as an owner?
Yeah, I mean, look, from a resources and from an infrastructure standpoint, I think you hit it on the head. On day one, saying that you're going to invest in a facility like he is just unbelievable. From a building a team standpoint, the best thing about Mark is his favorite line is, "I know what I don't know." So he's trusting the fact that Bill and myself have been doing this for a little while and we've had some success. So he's really right now just trying to learn about the league, learn about our players, learning about the infrastructure, not only of our team, but of the W as a whole. So he's just been a sponge, and it's been really fun to work with him.
Final question for Liz, if I can. Liz, why is this championship or bust this year?
Bust is the wrong word.
Look, I don't really think like that. I just focus on my team and the work I can put in and where we can take it. So I don't think there's going to be no busting nothing, though.
Yeah. Well, good luck to you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I want to piggyback on that conversation. We are set up not only for this year, but we are set up for the future also. So, if something happens and we don't win, we're still sitting there with a very championship caliber ball club. So this is not a one-done situation. Set this franchise up for a long term, and we're going to see how it all plays out, obviously. But we're going to be very competitive for a long time right now.
Very good. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Michelle?
Yeah, Liz, this is Michelle Vopel from ESPN. I just had two questions for you, please. One, what did playing a year with Asia sort of teach you two about each other and the best ways that you guys can help each other out on the court? And second, can you talk about just sort of balancing this year, playing in the WNBA and playing in the Olympics? Hopefully, everything will come off with that. What that balancing act is like for you?
I don't think there's much of a balance this year. It's like all in or go hard, or I'm locked in for the hardest year of my life. I don't think there's a balance. Yeah, you got to look after yourself, especially in a tight league like this. And a slim little break for the Olympics, just slotted in the middle of the WNBA season. But, my body's built for this. I've been working so hard. I'm ready for it. I'm excited for it. And that's it, It comes with being a professional athlete. And then going back on playing with Asia, when I started playing on the Australian team, I was the 5-man with Lauren Jackson. I know how to play with a great 4-man. I know y'all are obsessed with this motion that Asia and I can't play together. This Lob City. Are you serious? We can't be stopped. I think some of y'all be praying that we can't play together, but I love playing with her. I love having her over my shoulder. I love having Kelsey Plum on the 3-point line. I'm so excited to share this ball around this year. And the only thing I learned from Asia is how great she was playing with her. It just took my respect for her already to a whole nother level. And even watching her last year, pushing through, leading the team so young, it's all I got for that girl is nothing but love and respect.
Thank you.
I'm going to chime in there, Michelle, also. When we got Liz, everybody was questioning how it's going to work out between the two of them. Both of them made tremendous sacrifices. If you go back and look at historical numbers, Liz was the leading scorer in the league, and Asia was a 20-point scorer in the league, and they both averaged 16 points a game in that year, and we made great strides as a basketball team. So they both sacrificed their individual statistics for the good of the whole, which was wonderful to have, especially as a coach, and they all had, it's about respect. It's about respect of the situation, about each other, and they both had that respect factor that all they cared about was winning. This year is going to be the same way, that everybody is really good players, and they're all going to have to take some kind of a sacrifice at some point. Yeah, one time they may score 30, one time they may score 12. And I think that's what our team is all about, is nobody cares anymore about their personal situations. It's now about winning championships, and consistently trying to win championships is what this franchise is set up to do.
Thank you.
Willie G?
Hi, Liz. Willie G here from the Associated Press. So I remember your first press conference. It was emotional, and there have been a couple of emotional times during your first season. You and I have had some talks about mental health, and you just kind of mentioned that your mental health had sort of plummeted. And I'm just kind of wondering, you seemed so happy when you got here, and just how you've been able to compartmentalize, and how, knowing you've been coming back, I'm just wondering about your mental health, to be honest with you. You brought it up, you said it dropped, but just how you've been able to compartmentalize. We know what you do on the court. Everybody's asking about that. I'm wondering about your mental health, and just how much, knowing you're coming back to Las Vegas, it's helped you to sort of just regenerate and revive yourself in everything that you're doing, whether it's workouts with JR or training on your own, cardio, conditioning, whatever it may be. Your mental health has always been important to you. Yeah. How is that driving you?
Man, I don't know. Like, I'm really smiling from the inside out right now. Like, there was days where I would wake up and I hated waking up to like hoop life. I hated that I had to go to practice and shoot that ball. And I don't know what's changed, but if it's getting older and being more appreciative of the game and my life, but I live the best life. I wake up and I'm surrounded by people, and I go to work with people who push me and want me to be the best and want the best for me, not only them, but for all of us. And just being around people with good energy, I think as soon as I started being true to me, that it that energy, it pulls in people who are on the same like wave as you. So I've been just true to me, doing what like makes me happy, which is just being fit and healthy. I've outgrown Australia a lot, and that's been a lot of my growing pains back home, is that this is meant to be my home, but it doesn't really feel like home anymore, because here feels like home. LA and Vegas feels like home. So that's been tough, is like trying to finally say goodbye to Australia. But I think last year really pushed me to just get out of there. So COVID has honestly been such a blessing in so many ways. It's been so horrible, but just that year, I went through a lot, from Black Lives Matter, like repressed bullying stuff when I was a teenager, to isolation in a city that's meant to be my home, but I can't even go see my family because I could like give it to my grandmother when I'm trying to stay fit, training for an Olympics when we don't even know what the Olympics is. Like, it was hard for everyone last year, but I'm so grateful for it all, because it made me stronger, and it made me really, focus on my vision and where I want to take the rest of life when we get back to normal.
That's another really solid answer, Liz.
Dan, Bill, all the compliments today. Thank you.
I don't give out many.
I know. That's why I'm taking them.
Dorothy?
Hi, Liz. Congratulations on resigning with the Aces. You're one of the more recognizable faces of the league.
Mm-hmm.
And as the league prepares to celebrate its 25th anniversary, can you share what the league has meant to you over the years, and how it has shaped you as an athlete and as a woman, Black woman?
I haven't had the most happiest ride here in the WNBA when I got drafted 10 years ago. I got put in a place I didn't want to be, surrounded by people who didn't want to support me or put me on a level, that I should have been at. And I was 19 years old, all alone in the middle of Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm so grateful for my journey. I had the roughest start here in the W, but it's led me to home. It's led me to where I'm meant to be, surrounded by the people I'm meant to be with. So I wouldn't change any of it. The stories are crazy. My first year I played with Cheryl Swoops and Marion Jones. Like, that was a whole saga. It wasn't even a movie, it was a saga. It was a trilogy. But I learned a lot. I played with a lot of women I respect and have taught me a lot about myself and the world that we're living in. And I'm grateful. I grew up being the only Black girl in every room. So to be in a workforce that I feel like the sport is led by Black women, even though we don't really get marketed out there like that, is really empowering for me.
Howard?
Liz, Howard Megdal at the Next and the New York Times. Great to chat with you again. I have a question for you and one for Bill, if I could. Question for you is that I know your vision was of 2020, of focusing on championship, the Olympics, and you sort of had a year and then you're kind of reevaluating everything. I wonder whether, has that translated to 2021? You talked about having a vision for the rest of your life. I just wondering how far that vision's going for you these days and the way you're viewing it.
A year ago, I was not sitting here having this press conference, that's for sure. I was trying to end it. I was trying to hang up the boots end of last year, but being on court with being on court with Chris and the boys has really elevated my game to a whole nother level. I be watching the NBA guys and a few of our WNBA girls in slow motion, really learning moves and just really appreciating the art of the game. I never saw it like that until last year. I never saw us ballers as athletes, but what we do and the way we master our craft, it truly is an art. And I'm glad that last year just made me appreciate the game so much more and made me want to stick around and be a part of the future.
That sounds good.
That's appealing, and that makes sense. And Bill, for you, I mean, what you talked about with Asia and Liz is borne out by the results and by what each of them did, which is that they were both willing to sacrifice for the greater good. You obviously, though, have the responsibility of figuring out the ways to optimize them. And I'm wondering if, during this period of time you've thought of, are there ways in which you want to even tweak the approach from 2019, find even ways for the two of them to each find their space more often? Just wondering how you see it playing out just on a possession by possession kind of basis.
Well, possession by possession is probably the wrong way to go. The right way to go would be to say that the first year was a learning experience for both Liz and Asia and everybody. Liz is a very big presence, both from her game and her personality. So we had long talks with the team before we acquired Liz, and even when we acquired Liz, we had long talks. And I put myself in a locker room that year that was like I've never done before in my life, because I had to make sure that they all understood the direction that we're going. But I think that overall, they both got an understanding of each other. We did not have a high-low game that game because they were both, they were sacrificing, but they didn't understand each other and they didn't play off each other to as good as they could have, because there were still two strong personalities. They still have to have their own space. And I think that will change now. I think both Asia's grown up dramatically from where she was at that point in time. And Liz, you listen to her talk right now, she's grown up dramatically also. So I think they're both very mature women that understand their destiny and their path forward. And I think that, they'll play off each other more. That didn't happen the first time around. But they're both solid. Liz is a great passer, and so is Asia. They'll both look for each other in a high-low situation, because if you seal, they're both very long and tall, and you can throw over the top of everybody. So you're going to see, I believe, a lot more of that. And I think that also from a leadership perspective, Asia grew up dramatically. She is undisputed the leader, and Liz, listen to her talk also, is also becoming a more basketball orientated person. Before, she was Liz Cambage playing basketball. Now you listen to her talk, and I'm hearing this up for the first time also in many ways. Listen to her talk. She's also about basketball right now. It might be the first time in her life to this level of wanting to be successful and to be a basketball person, because it's always come so easy to her. I think winning the championship in Australia was a good eye opener for her. And now her goal should be, and I think it is, hey, just win. Now, this is just all we want to do is win, and whatever happens, happens, and everybody shares in the glory.
All right, as Liz mentioned, she has a lunch date with one Mark Davis, so I'm afraid this is going to have to be the last question. So Nick, if you will finish things off for us.
Thank you. Nick Hamilton, Nightcast Media. First of all, congratulations, Liz, on returning back to the Vegas Aces. Quick two-part question. One, obviously we always talk about teams having chemistry and when they're set players and then new players that enter the fold. What do you feel like this team has to do to keep the synergy and fluidity on and off the court to be successful?
We're a great group of ladies. I've played with a handful of them. I'm friends with half of them. And I think our energy and our mindset, like everyone has the same goal. We're all here to win. We're all here to play hard. We're all here to work hard. So I think that is what's going to keep the synergy going and our focus.
And how has, I know that you DJ and you have a great ear for music. So how has that helped you balance out between basketball responsibilities and being able to just, vibe out and just create those sounds that you do?
I got in the studio last year. Like, I was kicking it back in Australia, but it's time for me to focus more on basketball. So I'm lucky that there hasn't been any clubs for me to DJ. There is back in Australia. Australia is too lit right now. It's normal functioning society with nightclubs and festivals. And that's why I was like, I need to come back to lockdown. I need to go back to training in LA, because that life is like what's really got me the most focused right now. So I'm blessed to have this, to have all this training during lockdown so I could really focus and just lock in And I'm happy now things are opening back up. Like I'll be back in Vegas, focused with the team, and won't be getting caught up in that until after the season where I'll start DJing again. But yeah, it's last year was so weird. It was a blessing and a curse in so many ways.
Thanks, Liz.
As a coach, I love that answer.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. Thank you, Liz. Enjoy lunch with Mark Davis. Tell him we said hello.
I will.
Thank you.
And so paparazzi, get on it. Try and figure out where Liz and Mark are having lunch and get you some photos.